Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another one of my videos. This is a supplemental lesson to the Personal Management Merit Badge for Scouting. This is going to focus on the value of time on your financial investments. Now remember, time is either going to be your friend or your enemy. Depends where you are on the scale, and it depends whether you're earning or whether you're paying. And I'm going to talk about all of these dynamics as we go through this slide deck. So the question comes up is it ever too early to talk to children about money? Is it ever too early to even talk to them about saving for retirement? Now, a lot of people would laugh and shake their head and say, why would I talk to, a 12 or 13, 14, 15-year-old boy or girl about something that's so far away? Well, imagine how many parents start saving for college when their children are first born. They know that there is a big financial burden coming in the future. Right? Age 18, they're going off to college, mom and dad, and high school is not the time to start saving for college. Infancy is when you start saving for college. So why would you treat retirement any different? And even if it's not retirement, just the future. The hard truth is this. I am going to give you some fundamental principles in this video. I want you to execute on them the minute this video is over. Every day, every week, every month, every year, that you fail to act and fail to execute, I guarantee you it is costing you hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, even $1 million, as I'll show in a coming example. $1 million of what I call free money. Free, Free. You will get money for free simply by letting it sit and grow. Time is something we cannot ever get back once it's lost. There are no do-overs in life. I wish there were. The sooner you start, the sooner time is your friend. The later you start, the bigger challenge it's going to be. So I'm going to give you this message. When it comes to financial acumen, when it comes to financial habits, discipline yourself to pay yourself first at every part of your life. Whether you're a young man pushing a lawnmower or you're an adult who has a job, you have to pay yourself first to protect your financial future. All other expenditures, all other use for your money is secondary. There's got to be some amount of money that you give to yourself first every week so that you are taking care of growing your money and staying ahead of the curve for when you need that money in the future. So a very simple concept here is to ask a silly question. Is every dollar the same? Well, it really depends on when you plan to spend it. So if you're going to spend your money today, every dollar bill in your pocket has the same value. But if you're going to spend those dollars in the future, then the dollar is not just a dollar because you have to look at the investment, or what I would call the growth opportunity of what that dollar can become at some point in the future. So here's the concepts that we're going to discuss in this video, and it is simple: compounding interest over time. And I'm going to take a very simple experiment that young people can relate to, a single $1 bill, and we're going to put that into an investment that grows at 10% every year. And I will tell you, that is easy to do. I do much better than that in my own investments, and I am not a professional investor. At the end of the year, we'll take that 10% growth and we'll add it to that $1 that we started with. And next year, the same thing will happen. We'll have 10% growth. We'll end up with a slightly bigger number, and it will go on that way until we reach age 65. This is what's called interest added to interest added to interest, or compounding interest. And it is the singular best way to generate personal wealth. Interest on top of interest when your money works for you is the secret to wealth. Now, the opposite is very true. Anybody out there paying the minimum payment on a credit card? That compounding interest is working very well for the bank that issued you that credit card. They are making money on top of money on top of money every month that you're not paying off that bill. So you're either going to let compounding interest work for you, or you're going to let compounding interest work against you. I'm hoping at the end of this video that you're going to let compounding interest work for you. I'm going to be using this tool that I've made available to my Scout troop on our webpage, but it's simply a Microsoft Excel worksheet that does mathematically what we just talked about. An initial investment, any additional growth, the percent of return, and the age at which you started the investment. And then I'm going to show you, it shows a year by year growth curve. And what is so important about this graph are two things. First of all, in the fourth column over underneath where it says yearly growth, the same amount of investment, look how the growth grows every year. Every year that number gets a little bit bigger because you're getting interest on all of the other interest that you've already earned. It's compounding. The other thing that I want to draw your attention to is this graph off to the right hand side. As you put a little bit of money in every year, you might expect that little blue line to gradually get bigger as the years go by. And it does from year 1 up to around year 36, year 33. And then we get what's called the hockey stick graph, when all of a sudden you're compounding wealth on top of wealth on top of wealth exponentially, not linearly, exponentially. So if you ever heard the phrase, the rich get richer, absolutely. They're supposed to. Mathematically, that's how it works. When you put an investment away and it starts to grow exponentially, you're multiplying your wealth. And you want to be that guy because money is going to be something you'll need throughout your entire life. So here's the same $1 bill. We're going to have it now for, a young man who just bridged into a Boy Scout troop about age 11, a 16-year-old scout who's just got his driver's license and can go off and maybe work a job and deliver pizzas or whatever he may do for a living. And then there's his 45-year-old scoutmaster. And they're going to take that dollar, just as we described earlier, and they're going to invest it all in the same investment and hold it till they're 65. Now remember, the younger you are, the more years of growth until you hit 65. That poor scoutmaster who's 45 years old, he's only 20 years away from 65. He's not going to end up with the same amount of money as either of those Boy Scouts. I'm going to show you how that works. At age 11, if you've taken a $1 bill and put it in that investment that we talked about, look what that $1 bill is worth when you retire. $189.06. So that single little $1 bill that you didn't think anything of, maybe it's throwing a couple of $1 bills in a video game, playing the crane machine on the boardwalk down Ocean City. Whatever it is you're doing that makes you think that $1 is not a lot of money, do you still feel that way? Because with a little bit of discipline to put that money away and the excitement of watching it grow year after year, that $1 bill is actually worth almost $200 to a young man. At age 16, he's got just 4 years difference of growth at the end. Remember that exponential growth at the end of the curve? Well, that's where that price came down to $129. Still very impressive, but notice that it is different than what you see for the boy who's just a couple of years younger. And for that scoutmaster who's only got a short time horizon, his graph doesn't have that hockey stick. His is a little bit more gradual. And his dollar is only worth $7.40. So now you see that even just a little bit of time added to that tail end of that growth curve equates to some significant differences in the account value and your net wealth. What if you did this with a $5 bill? If $1 bill was pretty impressive, what does a $5 bill mean to you? Right? I know people that spend $1 bills without a thought in their mind, and now they do it with $5 bills too. They'll go to Starbucks every day, maybe twice a day, and get a $5 cup of coffee instead of an 87-cent cup of coffee at McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts. $5 could be as much as almost $1,000 to an 11-year-old boy. $500 to a 16-year-old. And you see how on the table to the right, it starts to diminish over time as our investment window starts to shrink and shrink and shrink with our age. $1,000 for a $5 bill. Do you still think it's chump change? Do you still have that attitude that it's just a dollar? It's just a couple of dollars. Oh, it's just $5. Imagine going to the mall now, going to the food court, and instead of getting that $5 pizza, it had a price tag of $945. Would you still buy the pizza? No, you certainly wouldn't. So why not put that money to use with a little bit of discipline and let it grow over time? Getting old is inevitable. It's happening to all of us. And you're going to end up in probably one of two situations. You could possibly end up like the poor soul on the left, whose only income is a very small check every month from the Social Security Administration. And he lives his life in fear that he's going to outlive the little bit of money that he's got left over. And then you could have the gentleman on the right who's got plenty of cash. He has all of his bills paid. He's able to pass money along to his children or simply just live a better quality of life. The only difference between these two was probably the time between when they started investing and when they didn't start investing. So here's a new experiment now, since you have the concept of building wealth over time. Let me show you how incredibly powerful early investing is. We're going to do an experiment between two people, Smart Scout and Smart College Student. And a Smart Scout is going to invest $2,000 a year starting at age 16. And he's going to add $2,000 every year up throughout his 23rd birthday, so up until he's 24. Now, let's take a moment and pause. $2,000 is not a lot of money, and I'm not saying go to your piggy bank and pull $2,000 out of it today. You probably don't have it. But $2,000 over the course of a whole year is just a few pennies over $38 a week. Once you start working, $38 a week is not going to be a lot of money to you, and it's not. He's going to invest starting at age 16 through age 24, and then he's not going to put another penny in for the rest of his life. His friend, however, thinks that he's going to be like most people. I'll worry about retirement when I get a job. Once I graduate college, then I'll start saving for the future. I'll have extra money, blah, 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 whatever excuse you want to make. He doesn't start investing until he's 23 years old, and he doesn't stop investing for the rest of his life. Who do you think is going to end up with more money? Well, if we take a look at what happens when you start young, you see that in this example, our 16-year-old put in money only $18,000 over the course of his life, which is really $18,000 up through his 24th birthday. He is going to profit $1,355,000 profit on an $18,000 investment. $18,000, ladies and gentlemen, not a lot of money. It's not even enough money to buy a decent car, right? Over the course of your lifetime is $1.373 million when added to your earnings. Let's take a look at what happened to the college student who waited to invest and then invested for the rest of his life. He put in not $18,000, $86,000, and he's at 1.1 million. Still a very impressive number. He's still a millionaire, but 1.1 is not 1.3, and it cost him a lot more money to do it. That is the power of starting early. You can never catch up if you are behind the curve. Now, let's get really crazy. From age 16 to age 24, you were disciplined enough to put $38 a week away. Why stop? Don't stop. You're putting money away, let it grow. Look at what happens in this next example. If you put away that money, instead of waiting and waiting and waiting for your account to grow, you continued to fund it. Over the course of your life, you'd put in 100,000. You would end up with $2.3 million dollars. Slightly more investment than the college student who waited until graduation to start. And he ended up with 1.1 million. You would have 2.3. $1.2 million more. Not 1.2 million. 1.2 million more by simply starting earlier. So our winner is clearly the person who starts early. In option number one, he invested $68,000 less than his friend and ended up with $177,000 more. He put in less and he got more out because he started earlier. And in option number two, he put in just about $14,000 more over the course of his life, but he ended up with an extra 1.1, close to $1.2 million difference. Extra. This is the free money that we were talking about, right? Just let it grow, extend those last few years of that hockey stick curve, and your money is growing exponentially. This is how the rich get richer. They're supposed to. It's the formula that leads to magnificent wealth generation. So, gentlemen, it's really this simple. As in all things scouting, all we can do is teach you a skill, teach you a lesson, offer you education and knowledge. It's up to you to decide if you're going to execute on it and put it to use. Now you know how it works. Retirement's coming whether you like it or not. You're going to handle money for the rest of your life. Whether you do it well or not is completely up to you. Own it like a boss and start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.